Alright guys, so I wanted to do a quick video watch list, do something a little different that I don't normally do. I usually do my watch lists every single week and I write them out on this little slideshow presentation. You guys have probably seen it. It's a little bit cut off on your screen. But I do want to do a video watch list. Maybe it will help you guys a little bit more because I know a lot of you guys do not read my watch list, so this is why I'm going to do a video one. So we're going to keep it short and sweet, go through all the things that I go through on my, usually the ones that I write out, and then we will talk about it just a little bit. So here I am on the SPY dashboard. Usually what I do for my week prep on Sundays is I go through and look for the levels. As you guys see here, I look at the levels that I'm looking at for upside and downside. Depending on the intraday data that we get, I look for those weekly levels every Sunday. So we're going to go through those levels on the gamma exposure tool on Traditix. So if you guys aren't familiar with the gamma exposure levels at all, I have plenty of videos going over those things so you guys aren't confused. But basically what we're looking at is we're looking at dealer hedging and positioning towards certain levels. And what we're looking at here are specific levels that they are targeting to the upside and downside, given the contracts and positions that they are in currently. So this is the cumulative exposure for gamma exposure. So what that means is these are all the expirations kind of averaged out into this little chart for you. And then we have these negative levels, as you guys are well aware of how I track those negative and positive levels intraday during the 0DT data. These are for weekly expirations and just actually all of the expirations, not just weeklies. So what we have here are these white bars are pretty much where SPY is priced currently. So we are at in between 671 and 673 it looks like, and looks like we closed at around 673 in the market on Friday. Oh, sorry, I'm getting a call. Let me shut that off, my bad. But yeah, it looks like we ended the day around 672 to like 673-ish. Looks like we closed around 672, but that's all those white bars are indicating. It just indicates where price is. So what we really want to be looking at are these negative levels. So 670 is a big negative level. So I'd be targeting that for a good support level going into this week. So if we hold above 670, I'd be liking upside towards these other levels. So it looks like we hit 673. You can see that there's a lot of resistance there intraday, and then after the market closed, there's some rejection there. Quite a bit until we finally broke through it. So that'd be my first level I'd be looking at going into Monday. If we get above 673, we can look for these other positive levels and then the large negative pulls too. So we could find resistance at like 679-ish to 680. And then if we even want to go higher, we can go towards these really large pulls, 685 to 687, which would be my ultimate target for the week if we continue with the upside momentum that we saw at the end of the week last week. So if we do fall below 670 though, and we have a lot of bearish action, which we did see quite a bit of that last week, we could fall below 670 and head towards these negative levels. There's a big batch all the way to 665, which I would probably assume that we'd see price move pretty rapidly towards that 665 level if we fell below that 670 level. So this is a big level to be watching for this week. 670, if we break that, we could go to 665 and then 660 it looks like, that next negative pull. So all eyes on 670 and then 673 holding towards these higher levels, and then below 670 we can see those lower ones. Okay, so those are the levels that I'm looking at for this week. That's what I do in my watch list. That's the big section we have here. So let's look at the economic calendar. Let me pull that up real quick, and I'll show you guys actually how I look at that if you guys are interested. So I usually go on investing.com. Financial Juice is also really good if you just want to see some big red folder news. That's also a good widget that I like to use, and I will go on there as well so you guys can see if it loads up. So here's all the news happening throughout the week. Lots of good things here, but I like a cleaner view. So what I do here is I go to, I got to turn off my ad blocker, of course. It's going to work. It's not going to work. Awesome. Maybe I should have done this before. All right, nothing's working now. and I'm clicking everything. Okay. Is it going to work? Let me turn this off. I think I might have frozen it. Okay, forget it. After this video ends, I'm going to post a screenshot of the investing.com where I usually get my economic calendar news. But what we're looking at here is tomorrow is the 17th. So let's see what we got. We got a bunch of Fed speakers, looks like Williams, Jefferson, Kashkari, and Waller. On the 18th, we have a couple more Fed speakers, Birkin and Logan. Housing market index. Crude oil inventories. FOMC meeting minutes. That's a big one right there. Red folder. That's basically just a summary of what happened in the last FOMC meeting. Williams speaks, and then NVIDIA has Q3 earnings after the bell, it looks like, on the 19th. Let's see, we got jobless claims and non-farm payrolls. Existing home sales on, what day is this? The 20th? 20th is Thursday. And home sales, 10-year high yield, and a couple more Fed speakers. And then the 21st is Friday. S&P Services PMI, which is 15 minutes after the bell on Friday. A couple of Fed speakers before that. S&P Manufacturing PMI Flash, and University of Michigan Sentiment at 7 a.m. my time, 30 minutes after the bell opens. Okay, so that is the economic calendar. Let's see what else I talk about here. Flow map. So let's look at the flow map real quick. So what the flow map is, it tracks the overall net premiums of a certain expiration throughout the week. So let me go to the flow map. Did I pass it? I think I passed it. There it is. Okay, so what I usually do is I look at the weekly, and then I look for the expiration for next week. So next week, the Friday expiration is 11/21, November 21st. Looks like we have neck and neck calls and puts being bought. So that could mean a lot of different things. Normally, I don't rely heavily on this this tool at all. There's not a lot of pull regarding like intraday and stuff, but it is good to look at. But you guys can see that we have a net call premium of 42 million, 42.5, and then put premiums with 48.9. So there's just a slight sliver lead for the bears. That doesn't really mean much, really, because it's pretty close together. Now, if it was swayed heavily, like I can give you an example. Let's see. It's like this one. You can see that there's a lot more calls being bought than puts. And this was just intraday stuff. So this was on Friday when we got that huge push up. You can see that there's a lot more calls and there's a little bit more sway in that. So nothing really crazy, I'd say, as far as the flow map. Pretty neck and neck neutral in my eyes. So, but I will keep on that. Keep my eyes on that. I usually look at the intraday flow, which you guys have seen me do. And this is how I kind of gauge my bias for the day. Just with intraday flow. I don't really rely heavily on the flow map, but it's a good thing to look at for our week prep. Okay, let's see. The last thing that I really look at is the high volume cheap cons. Okay, so this is a little fun thing that I started to do. I don't really do it all that often anymore or play them, but a lot of you guys have liked it, so I usually include that in my watch list. So we can look at the high volume cheaplies. We can see certain contracts that are getting heavy volume and they're very, very cheap in price. So it looks like HYG, that one's always on there, so I don't really pay much attention to that one. But this one I would pay attention to, this Tesla one. It's only $10. It's a 200 put for a weekly expiration. 2 weeks out, Tesla 11/28. So puts on that one. Lots of volume on that. Let's see what else we got here. More Tesla puts. More Tesla puts. Lots of Tesla puts, honestly. NVIDIA, this one's a pretty high volume NVIDIA one going to earnings this week, 11/21. So keep your eyes on puts on Tesla and NVIDIA going into this week, okay? What else? I think that's about it, guys. I don't want to keep it too long, just under 10 minutes, so this is probably perfect. But yeah, that's usually what I look at for my weekly watch list. I pay heavily close attention to the intraday SPY levels, which is on here, or the 0DT GAX levels, and then also the weekly exposure on SPY here, which are these. So if you want to replay that part, that is probably the biggest part of the watch list, and that's what I like to look at throughout the week as well. All right, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this watch list video. Let me know if you guys want me to do more videos like this every single week, or if you want me to do the written ones and kind of go back to those. But I hope you guys have a good week. I will see you guys in the live streams.